Hello everyone and welcome back to Don't Look Back, and we are up to the third scenario from the 6 in the rulebook called The Escape, which is going to be played out on the map that you can see before you. We're going to randomise which heroes we bring this time though, but we are using the set killer in the rulebook, which is called the Lakeshore Killer. I'm going to be using a custom miniature for it that you can sort of see on the table there, just sitting in the middle. I'm going to quickly read the flavour text for this one though. Then we'll show the killer, randomise who we're playing as, and go over the scenario-specific roles this time. So, you hike down to the lake's edge to meet your friends at their cabin. When you arrive, you find what's left of them strewn around the campsite. It doesn't seem like an animal could have caused this carnage. You see your friends 4x4 up the road. You just need to find the keys. They must be in a pocket here somewhere. So that is the setup. Let's see the killer. So here's the killer we'll be facing this time, and if I did have one complaint, it's that if you use the thematic killers listed in the rulebook as opposed to randomising at the point it manifests, 3 of the 6 scenarios all use the mutilated killer. Like, why give so many killer types if you're just going to use mutilated over and over? So he has the same set rules that we've seen the other 2 times. His MO is different though, as are his traits. So his MO is just out of sight, and he loves appearing behind the character who's not scared, behind a piece of terrain, so they're like poking their head out, Michael Myers style, I guess. Traits, whispers. Characters are -2 to all actions if they're within 6 inches of the killer, because he's whispering ki ma ma ma, I guess. And then armed and dangerous. A character injured by this killer's melee attacks gains bleeding, which means when you start your turn you take 1 damage, unless a character does a long action heal on you to bandage the wound. And this is the custom miniature for Jason we're going to be using as he hunts down some more camp counselors. So I have all the player cards here. Unfortunately it does say their names on the back, so I'm just going to look away and kind of shuffle, and then I'm going to throw them to a table and we'll see who we end up with. We're going to end up with them, we're going to end up with them, we're going to end up with them, and them. So, who are we playing as today? We're playing as Ranger Sandy, as an adult. We got Seth again, the nerd, so we've seen them before as well. We got Alice, who we've also seen before. She can rah people to give them encourage. And then, okay, we did get one new character. We got Holden Gibson. He's also a teenager, but he comes with a shotgun with 2 ammo. Does D5 injuries, although against a mutilated killer it's not that great because he has reduced damage taken. Tough as nails though. Holden may cancel the first jump scare each turn initiated by this character or another one within 8 inches. Wow, that's really good. So the hapless band of survivors are set up in the top left corner next to a cabin, which does have a point of interest in it. There's also other points of interest that have been randomised. You random by starting at the middle of the table section. You have to put them in and then rolling or flipping a random token that comes in the bag and then moving it 2d6 or d10, I've forgotten now, but either way. So there's one just south of the cabin, there's one there in the middle, and then there's 2 over there. And the important part is down here there's a car with a light source from its high beams, I guess, but they don't have the key to start the car. So let's go over the special rules. The table setup is as I've just explained. Really, there's no fright tokens on the table to start with, which means that they'll be spawning in the first turn of the game. Points of interest, there's 4 6 inches away from the inside of the table sections A and B. Oh, that's what it is. And it's 6 inches in a random direction. These represent the mangled remains of the camp counselors, one of which had the keys to the car. Special rule, search for the keys. When you're within 1 of a point of interest, you can make a d20 skill check. On a 19 or 20 you find the keys and you get a +1 bonus for every one you've already checked, so it's kind of like finding Pat last time. Which I did incorrectly. Incidentally, I forgot I'd already tried to find Pat once when we got quote unquote lucky to find her, which means we should have found her remains rather than her alive. Wouldn't really have changed the outcome at all, so no problem there, but that was done incorrectly. Speaking of which, the killer being kind of inept last time, got lucky because there is a rule where if no one can see him, he redeploys using his MO, but Ranger Sandy had eyes on him basically from the get-go, so he was kind of stuck moving those small rolls, so just got lucky with the rolls for him. Anyway, Carnage. At the start of turns 1 to 3, all characters gain 1 point of terror. For turn 1, I'm just going to put 1 terror on them all instantly, just while I'm remembering. Lights. Place a light token in base to base with the front of the vehicle. Done. Objective, find the keys, and then at least 3 characters need to be base to base with the vehicle before the end of turn 14. And that's it. So now we're ready to jump in and get the game started. Alright, so as we start turn 1, we actually don't need to roll for fright tokens because there isn't any, and you generate new ones if there's none after you would roll to see if they activate. So because there's none on the table, you place one in the center of table section B and D. B is in this direction, far end of the table, D is to your right, C, sorry. So I've put those down, and there's no killer phase because the killer isn't on the table either, although you do end that phase by flipping the light tokens. So the car headlights have turned off this turn, but there's no killer. So we can actually jump straight to the character phase. They all gain 1 terror because of the special rule for the scenario as previously discussed, which does mean if they double move they're going to have to do trip checks, although it is very unlikely they're going to have to actually fall. We're going to count the big trees as generating jump scares. First time going in the cabin, we're going to generate a jump scare there, and the larger rocky outcrops, and the old dead tree. And just moving in the open in the boxes and stuff, they're not going to generate fright tokens, they're not large enough. So let's get started straight into the character phase. We'll go with Holden. He only moves 4, so he is going to have to move twice, but he gets to ignore jump scares, so that gives him a total of 8 movement. So 4 would get him there. He is going to get inside the house, and we're going to do a quick trip check. It's on a 1 that he actually trips. Thank goodness he rolled a 2, which is just as well. But he is going to have to jump scare. Actually, no, he's not. He's going to use his ability to cancel the jump scare. And I think it's if you don't have to be in base to base with the icons, you have to just be within 1, right? Let me just double check that. Yeah, within 1 you can do a quick action. Oh, it's a quick action, only move twice. So no, he can't. But he can check that investigation token that's inside the little house next time. So then we'll go with Seth, because he's very slow, the nerd. We'll just move him 6 in this direction, and let's see if he trips on a 1. I rolled 2 2s in a row. That's disturbing. Okay, he's fine. And then we'll go with Alice. She moves very quickly. She can move 10 in total because she moves 5 each movement. Again, if I only chose to move once, let's keep her outside of 2 of that tree over there actually, so we don't have to jump scare. And that made that go out of focus, didn't it? Well, let me quickly roll for this. It's focusing on this tree. I didn't roll a 2. I rolled a 6. We have an improvement. And then let's move Ranger Sandy. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to move this tree out of the way, because it's not going to affect gameplay. I actually forgot there was an icon right there, so I'm kind of glad I did that. Zoom in a little bit. That will hopefully change the focus from the tree that's now dead. Let's move with Ranger Sandy and go after that marker then. She can't check it this turn. She'll just go to the far end of it so that she can check it next turn. Does she fall over? That was 2 2s and 2 6s in a row. That's very strange. So we're basically round to the top of turn 2 already. The scenario didn't specify that the cabin is locked, so I think you can just walk in, because you're supposed to have a marker there. You're also supposed to have a larger cabin than the one I have, but I'm working with what I've got. So we're rolling round to the top of turn 2, and that means we're back round to the fright phase, and because there are fright tokens on the map, we do have to roll to see if they activate. So because it's turn 2, we need a 6 or higher and a d10, and then they'll do something, and that is a 3, so they are not doing anything this turn. The killer still might appear via a jump scare this turn though, which means we go to the end of the fright phase, we go to the killer phase. There's no killer on the board. The light in front of the car is going to switch back on, which is kind of like a safe zone every other turn. And then we're right back to the character phase. I want to think about where I'm sending them, but they will all generate 1 more terror as well, so they're all going to be at 2. Alright, everyone has gained 1 terror. Now just looking up the rules, investigating an icon is a long action, so you can only do a long action after a quick action. The other thing to take into consideration is the long action called Take a Breath, which lets them remove 1 terror or 2 injuries. But again, it's a long action, and if you aren't aware, you can do 2 quick actions in a turn, or 1 quick action and 1 long action in that order. You can't change the order. So I think we're going to go with Ranger Sandy, and she's going to check that icon, or that mutilated corpse that is this icon, I guess. And she's going to see if she can find the keys, which means it's a long action, so she, well, you know what, I guess she might as well move to the far side so she's a bit closer to the car, because she only needs to be within an inch. So there we go. So 19 or 20, it's the keys. She actually found the keys, I don't believe it. And she doesn't have enough terror to negatively affect that yet, because you have to have over your fright value. She actually found the keys? Well, okay, Ranger Sandy. I wasn't expecting that, so I guess I can remove all the other icons, but I'll do that in a second. So her turn is over though. Alice is going to move once, and then she's going to take a breath to remove a terror point. Let's come over here. So she'll take a breath, remove a terror point, but she will have to do a jump scare for being within 2 of that big tree. Let's see if the killer can actually manifest itself. Where's the jump scare table? D10. Uh-oh. Strange shadow. The character gains 1. Okay. She gained back the terror that she just lost. That's fine. Holden no longer needs to be in that house, so he can just move. So he can move 4 inches, so he can move 8 in total. He's just going to leave and go over by Alice, and he will cancel out the jump scare he would get. Actually, I've forgotten offhand now if it's 1 jump scare per person or 1 bit of terrain can cause a jump scare once per turn. Oops, as I kick the camera out of disgust. Either way, he'll use his ability to cancel it because there's no one else in range. His awareness is 8. Well, Seth might get within range. Speaking of which, Seth is just going to move a paltry 3 inches so that he can also take a breath as a long action. He's going to stay away from the dead tree over there so he doesn't trigger a jump scare, and he'll remove 1 terror. Well, incidentally, if you're standing in light when you do a take a breath action, it makes it better. Anyway, that is the end of Battle Round 2. So we're right back around to the start of round 3. However, I was double checking the rules for jump scare because, as I said, I wasn't quite sure if I was remembering correctly. Each bit of terrain can cause 1 jump scare per character per turn. So Holden, and also I double checked houses, and going inside the house should have caused 1 as well. So Holden is owed 1 jump scare that I didn't account for with him cancelling his abilities, so I'm going to roll for that now. That's the exact same thing, so he's going to get 1 more terror point as well. And at the start of turn 3, everybody is also gaining 1. So he's gained 2 essentially, just to keep things right. Everyone else has gained 1. And then at the top of turn 3, as I grab the book again to know what number we have to roll for fright tokens. Let's see, turn 3 is a 5+, so a 50-50 chance. It's going to be one of those matches again where the killer doesn't get to do anything, huh? That means the fright tokens do not activate. The killer phase, there's no killer. The lights flicker off on the car again. And then we're back round to the characters, and they just need to get to the car. So I think we're just going to stay with this angle for now, starting with Ranger Sandy. She moves 8, so she is going to move along here, and she is going to be within 2 of the large stone area there. I said that would cause jump scares, so let's roll on that. A 2, I don't remember if low is bad or good on this. Eerie sounds, they make an awareness test. On a failed test they gain they trip. Her awareness is 11. She failed. Ranger Sandy has fallen on her face for no apparent reason. Excellent. Well, that's fine. Let's go with... I could have cancelled that with Holden being within range as well. I wasn't thinking. That's fine. Let's go with Alice. She can move 10 if she opts to move twice, which will get her... She's the fastest by far. I don't know if I want to get her down there to the car immediately, though. I kind of don't want her to, I think, so we're just going to leave her in the middle of those trees so she's safe, because if she gets down there and the killer happens to go after her, that makes it so much harder for everyone else to go out, especially with Seth being so slow. Speaking of which, he's going to move his amazing 6 inches, and you can see him just at the top of your screen, barely. I think he's going to... Oh, you know what? He's going to cut across here. He would roll a jump scare. Holden will use his ability to cancel it. Things are going too well. This is either going to be like a ridiculously boring match of Don't Look Back, or right at the end, Jason is going to appear and murder everyone. Oh, he moved twice though, so he needs to check if he trips. So it's on a 2 or less for Seth. Nope, he's fine. Because you have to roll equal to, or if you roll equal to or under the number of fright tokens you have, you trip. And then Holden, 8 inches. He's going to stick with Alice. He's got a gun. He's well protected. He'll stay next to her. Both of them utterly ignoring Ranger Sandy falling flat on her face for no reason. And yeah, that's the round. So on round 4, it is on a 4+ on a D10 that the 2 fright tokens will actually do something. It rolled off screen, but I assure you, it's a 3. I don't believe it. So once again, the fright tokens don't do anything, which means there's no killer phase, which means the only thing that happens is the light flips on the car. it's hard to believe, but I guess when the rolls just go one way, this is what can happen. Well, for the character phase, Ranger Sandy is going to stand up, and then she has to just move 4, but that does mean she doesn't need to trip again at least, or check for tripping. So, there we are, and I think because she didn't leave within 2 of the scenery she's in, she doesn't need to roll for that again. Is she within 2 of the tree? Not quite, but you know what, I think I kind of need to give the killer a chance. So let's roll on the, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Let's roll on the jump scare table. A 9, okay, that could be bad. No, never mind, laugh it off, remove 1 terror point. Literally every roll is going my way. You ever see that horror movie where nothing happens and everything's okay? Anyway, oh, you mean the Blair Witch Project? That's her turn. Seth is the one they have to wait for. At least, well, actually they don't need to wait for him. If the rest of them get out, it doesn't matter what happens to Seth. It's because 3 people need to get out, not 6. Does he trip? No, he does not. Then Alice will activate, and I guess she'll move into the light of the car. Well, one move wouldn't quite get her into the light of the car, actually. Well, let's just move once. She's just outside of the headlights of the car. Holden is the one with the keys, though. Wait, no. Who had the keys? Ranger Sandy has the keys. So she's the one that needs to get out. It's like playing the Friday the 13th video game. Jump scare for the big tree right here, because Alice is within 2 of it. Hang on, can Holden make her cancel it? Awareness 8. Yes, he could, but then he's going to move in range of it as well, so either way a roll's going to have to happen. Yeah, we'll just roll it for Alice. A 6 on the jump scares. Tap on the shoulder. Place the closest standing friendly character or supporting character within 8 base to base. It does not cause a jump scare for the placed character. If there's no characters, gain terror instead. Well, that'll be Holden then. Holden's just going to teleport behind her. He doesn't have to roll a jump scare now if we just move the camera over here. And then he can take his turn, and he'll just stand next to the car, I guess. Well, he doesn't even need to stand in the light, honestly. He'll stand next to the car. He's getting the engine started. This is ridiculous. Okay, in turn 5, it's a 3+ on a D10 that the fright tokens do something. It's a 7. They finally do something. You start with the one that's furthest away, which would be top right corner, because that's board section B. So, let's see here. Fright tokens. Where is the... Oh, fright token result. There we go. So, for the one at the top right, a 3. Did you hear that? Remove token and flip all lights within 6. So it actually just disappears. I don't believe it. So that one's gone. And then there's one on top of this scenery you can just see here. It's up on the ledge. What is it doing? That's a 5. I know you can't see it, but it is a 5. And a 5 on that is... Move the token 6 inches towards the closest character. That's not really going to affect anything at this point, I think. 6 inches towards Ranger Sandy. She's got the keys. It would move it roughly there. I don't even think it's within 2 to affect her at all. No, I don't think it is. So then it would be the killer phase. There's no killer, so that flips on and off. And for the character phase, we can technically just end it. But I want to see if I can get everybody out. Because Holden isn't needing to do anything. He'll take a breath to remove a terror, because why not? Alice just needs to move once, and she's at the car. So she's good to go. Ranger Sandy, I think, needs to double move, and then she still isn't quite at the car. So actually we would need one more turn regardless. That gets her into where the light will be next turn. But she's not touching the car or within 1 inch of it. So yeah, we do need another turn. Oh, does she trip? She has 2 terror. She does not trip. And then Seth, moving a mighty 6 inches. He's there. Behind the tree there. First of all, does he trip? He rolled a 12, which is a no. And then a jump scare for this tree. It's a 7. Tap on the shoulder. Presumably that I guess someone would have to teleport backwards, so Ranger Sandy is now next to him, being like, "Come on, Seth, where's your inhaler?" And yeah, that's it for that round. Alright, we're into battle round 6, and I was just double checking the rules, like there's gotta be a rule to make the killer actually appear, right? And there is, as long as the fright tokens do something this turn, in turn 6, I think. Is it automatic that they do something on turn 6? Yes, okay. So when the fright tokens activate in the fright phase, generate fright tokens part of it. When rolling for the last fright token on the board, it automatically becomes the killer if the killer is not in play. So, he has finally appeared and will be placed according to his MO, I believe. It just says, when rolling for the last fright token, it becomes the killer if the killer's not in play. Oh, it's within 4 inches that they gain another terror token if there's a fright token within range of them. I thought it was 2 inches. So Ranger Sandy actually has 3 terror, but still. Alright, let me grab the miniature finally and we'll put them on the table. So right at the end of the game we have a killer phase where the killer is actually on the table. He manifested from that fright token and he can be seen. Well, actually no, he can't be seen because the only 2 characters that are within range are not looking at him. They're facing away, and at the start of the killer phase, let's see, if no characters can draw line of sight to the killer and the killer is not into base to base with the character, you would place him according to his MO instead. Because Seth and Ranger Sandy, they don't know he's there. So actually, I think he does get moved according to his MO because he kind of vanishes and reappears. So let's do that because that might make things more interesting. Just out of sight, place the killer so that it's 6 inches away from the character with the lowest terror. The lowest terror is Seth. And behind a piece of terrain if possible. In the case of a tie the player chooses. When the killer moves, all characters that can see it gain 1 point of terror. The killer will always target the character with the lowest terror points. He likes picking on people that aren't scared. Well, Seth is the target then, unfortunately for him. So he appears 6 inches away. Honestly, that's basically exactly where he is. I guess slightly this side of the tree. So he's going after Seth because Seth is the least afraid. Fine. Let's move him. So it's +2 to this. 6, 7, 8. And he's 6 inches away. He actually gets to do a thing. We're going to move this tree so we can see it happen. The killer is charging in against the poor asthmatic. But that does mean the keys are safe, because if the person with the keys did eventually die, you have to go get the keys. It is literally like the Friday the 13th video game. So you would get +2 inches if they had tripped. Nope, but you get +1 for each point of terror, and he has 2 terror, so yes, he moved an extra 2. Then you attack. So, it is a skill roll on a d20. He crits on a 1. And he needs to, that's definitely a hit, isn't it? Let me just see here. It's on his first attack, which is various blades. Combat 15. It does 3 damage to Seth of his 10 health. And then he does wild swing, so everybody within 2 takes 1 injury. So Ranger Sandy also takes 1 injury, and that also means they are both bleeding. But that's not really going to matter because, well, sorry, at the end of the killer phase also, this flips over. Because he can get away. Oh, actually no, Seth may not be able to get away. He's going to have to see if he can actually break away from the killer. Ranger Sandy is outie. She's just moving here into the light, and then she can heal the bleed and the injury she took. And she's within 2 of the car. Seth, on the other hand, though, he's got to try and get away from the killer. So let's see, fleeing the killer. I've forgotten what you rolled for that. Let's see, it's stumble away. The character in contact with the killer can attempt to make a 2-inch move. It's a quick action. They have to do an awareness test. Well, in that case, Alice will buff Seth's awareness so it's 2 higher than normal, which means it's a 15. So 15 or less, that's fine. He's allowed to move 2 away, otherwise he would have tripped and taken an injury. And then for his other quick action, he'll move 3 inches. Oh, you know what? 3 inches might not be enough to get him to the car. Hang on. He doesn't move very fast. That gets him within 1 of the car. It does. I guess Jason was just satisfied with all the people he murdered before my team got here, because that does put all of them within 1. Ranger Sandy's got the keys. Sure, a couple of them got a little bit of a slice from a machete, but they're actually done. So as the car starts and the entirety of my team gets away safely, Jason just stands there wondering what went wrong. And I've been looking over the rules just to make sure I didn't miss anything that would have made that more difficult, but that was just a case of every... Well, okay, sure, I missed 1 fright check, or jump scares check, sorry, upon going into the cabin. The cabin wasn't even where the keys are. Rolling a 20 on your first check on turn 2 I think it was, because I don't think Ranger Sandy, yeah, because you had to do a long action to check for the keys, so it was turn 2. But there's nothing in the rules to avoid that. As far as I can see, the only problem with this particular scenario, the third one in the book, is that there's no fright tokens on the table to start with, which means you use the generation rules for them, which means 2 appear very far away from your team, because your team start in board section A, the fright phase kicks around, 1 spawns in table section B middle and table section C middle, and if they're heading down to table section D, if they find the keys instantly, they just need to basically beeline down the diagonal of the middle of the table, and they can avoid those fright tokens for as long as possible. The fact it became a killer right at the end there, I was kind of playing fast and loose, deliberately doing jump scare rolls and whatnot just to try and make it happen, just so we could see him. I feel like if I'd played optimally there, we would never have seen him, because every roll went in my favour. Nobody had enough terror rather, to affect their skill rolls, because you have to have more than your fright, and the lowest fright on the table is Alice and Seth with 4. Alice never went higher than 3. So yeah, that was just a case of everything going right. So that is going to do it. That's the way Don't Look Back can go. It's not always about the murderer massacring everyone, I guess. Next time we'll be doing a scenario called Trapped, which starts with 4 fright tokens on the table, so it'll go a lot differently that time. I think one of your crew is stuck in a bear trap. You've got to try and get to them and then get out. That sounds fun. This one could have been fun, I feel, if the killer had manifested earlier. That's just the way it goes sometimes. We'll definitely try this scenario again in the future and see it play out differently, I think. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you in the future for more Don't Look Back with some more custom killers as well. Some fun miniatures to bring to the table. Anyway, thank you. Ta-ta for now.